Okay, everybody, welcome to our Thursday night leadership call. Guys, I love doing these calls, and I just love that we get to do this once a week and everybody gets to come together and encourage one another. And that's what we do. That's why we do these calls. That's why they're part of you growing your business, because it's all about relationships and it's all about leadership and developing leaders. And I put a new book that I'm going to start reading called The 5 Levels of Leadership. And I'm going to touch base on each one of those little principles tonight after I introduce our guests. I put some funny pictures on every week. I was really blown away this week when I received an email from John Maxwell, and he had an interview with Ohio State's coach Urban Meyer. And those of you who know me well enough to know OH, I'm a huge Ohio State fan, okay? And guys, if you're just coming on, if you can mute your lines, that would be great, please. There's a mute button. Thank you. So, and then one of this quote from Urban from John's leadership call, it said, "The number one job of the leader is to earn their trust. And then you set the standard, and then you equip and inspire them to achieve that standard." I put Lisa and I next week, we'll be going to the big game, Ohio State, Michigan. Go Buckeyes, up in Columbus. And this is a picture from our first game that we went to over 7 years ago. And we're excited. We're excited to beat that team from up north. And I know Carrie's on now, and she's good thing her mic is muted, her and Jason. So, so guys, I'm excited about this call tonight. As I said, I'm excited about every call. But tonight, my special guest, I would call Lee a good friend. I would call him and Becky both good friends. Dr. Lee Seward is a doctor of veterinary medicine. He's served in the U.S. Army. Thank you for serving, Lee. He is a member of the LifeVantage Medical Advisory Board. And him and his wife, Becky, who I just love, live in Eaton, Colorado. And you guys know I've been bringing people on these calls every week. And one of the things that we do as elite distributors is we transfer belief. And I don't think that any of you will ever have another opportunity to be a part of something this special ever again in your lifetime. And I think Lee would agree with me. So I'm going to have Lee come on. I didn't want to steal all his thunder. I'm going to let him tell himself a little bit about himself to you, and then I'm going to ask him some questions. So Lee, I know you just stepped out of dinner, and I'm very honored that you did that. And so I'm going to let you take the floor now. Thank you for being on.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great.
Okay, great. I'm in my car, so it may not be great. It's I'm in Colorado, as Michael said, and we went from 82 degrees yesterday at 3 p.m. to 28.
Lee, I did lose you. I don't know.
Snowing here.
I lost you there for a minute. I'm kind of losing you in and out, and I don't want people to miss hearing you. So maybe if I'm going to mute my mic just in case. And if you haven't muted.
Okay. I'll try again, but let me know, Michael, if you're breaking up on mine a little bit. But anyway, I was just saying it went from 82 degrees yesterday afternoon to 28 degrees this afternoon, and it's snowing here outside of a restaurant. I had a restaurant meeting this evening, so pardon the lack of quality visual here. Anyway, first off, thank you, Michael and Lisa, for having me on the call. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys that are on Michael and Lisa's team can appreciate the quality of leadership that you have. Michael and Lisa are some of our favorite people. These are people that really have great big hearts. and they spend all of their time helping others, and they're just so genuine. They're just so genuine. We just love them to death, and you guys are extremely fortunate to have them as your leaders. My story, I just like to mention a couple things. After I got out of veterinary school, I practiced for a brief period of time. And while I was in practice, I was in was doing some clinical trials for a pharmaceutical company with a new pharmaceutical for animals, for cattle. And I'd gotten involved with that, learned a little bit about it, and I read a little bit about the new chemistry, etc., that was coming into the animal health field. And I found it was extremely exciting, and I felt it was something that's going to be pretty important for animal health. And I didn't know much about how to do things. I was really didn't have any experience other than as a clinical veterinarian. But through my contacts with the people that were running the study, I sent in my resume to the company to see if I could get a job working with this new product. And long story short, the guy liked me. I wasn't really qualified academically to take the job, but he liked me and they hired me. And I think that talks a little bit to the point of being in the right place at the right time, because this particular chemistry that I got to work with at Merck Research Labs became the all-time best-selling pharmaceutical ever in animal health, and certainly changed the lives of millions, hundreds of millions of animals, and changed the lives of hundreds of millions of owners too of those animals. And that compound, that chemistry, was called ivermectin, and it's the active component of such products as Heartgard 30 for dogs, cats, Equivalent, Zymectrin for horses, Ivomec for cattle and pigs, and all kinds of farm animals. Just an amazing anti-parasitic compound that just made the health of these animals better. So here, this country bumpkin just happened to be in the right place at the right time and got to work with something that changed the way animals are raised and changed the health of animals and freed dogs from some fairly dramatic parasitic diseases. So fast forward to 30 years later, and I'm sitting on an airplane, Becky and I, and this curly-headed young woman sits down next to Becky, and Becky's a very extroverted person. And her and this curly-haired woman, somebody needs to mute their phone, please. There you go. Becky was sitting next to her, and they got to chatting, and before we got off the ground in the airplane, they knew each other's history, why they were flying we were headed to San Antonio to a wedding, why they were going there, and all about their families and their children and their nephews and nieces and everything they could imagine in their family before we even took off. And so away we went, and they're having a good time chatting with one another, and I'm sitting over next to the window reading the paper. Anyway, about 30 minutes into the flight, this young lady pulls out an iPad and starts showing Becky a video. And of course, that video was the ABC Primetime Investigative Report. And I'm looking over Becky's shoulder, and I see that, and I watched it, and we became interested. Talked to this young woman, and it just so happened it was Jennifer Bishop. Her husband Stephen was sitting across the aisle, and any of you that know them know what a powerful life story they have. And so this intrigued me. When we got home, I did my due diligence about the product, the technology that's in Protandim, and I told Becky, I said, I think this is another one of those right place, right time moments in our lives, like it was when I joined Merck Research Labs, that here I have an opportunity for the second time in my life to work with something that's going to have a major impact on the world, make the world a better place, to actually be involved in the ground floor of technology that's going to just change the way we think about health and well-being. And I'm right. I was right. We got involved, became distributors, and I found that I still feel that way. That this technology and some of the subsequent things that the companies has done are an opportunity to be involved with something that can change the way we think of health and well-being. So that's how I got involved. We continue to be involved with the company, because one of the things I looked at when we were looking at doing our due diligence was the nature of the company. And after being involved for 3 going on 4 years, one of the things that I can tell you about the company that I thought up front, and that was that this is a company that provides technology that has a sound basis, as opposed to a lot of network marketing companies that they take and they sell good products, perhaps, but those products aren't really anything unique. But with LifeVantage, every product they've provided us so far has something about it that is better than anything else out there. There's something about the technology that's in every product they've given us. There's something about the way it's going to be used that gives it a special place in our health and well-being, in our lifestyle. So after 4 years, I'm still excited about the company and the products and the way we're going. So, Michael, I don't know how you want to proceed.
That's good. No,
I can talk a little.
No, Lee, that's good. Let me just ask you a couple quick questions. Okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Let me just ask you this. Did you ever think 35 or so many years ago when you started your veterinary practice that something this impactful, not only in the nutrition and anti-aging, but in the lives of mammals, the type of mammals that you have dealt with for years, that would have the impact that it has being in the hands of the consumer? Talk about the impact that the products have had on veterinary medicine.
Sure. Sure. Be happy to. Well, one of the things that leads to what Michael was just talking about is that people always say, well, we've got this information and it does this in humans, but what about animals? We don't have a lot of information about animals. We've got studies in dogs, etc. But what they forget is that not only for the technology in Protandem, but for many things, the basic work and investigation is often done in animals. And in the case of oxidative stress, the fact that Protandem reduces oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days in humans, and the fact that there's a host of hundreds of conditions besides the benefits for anti-aging, there's a whole host of conditions that one of the basic components of those diseases or conditions is oxidative stress. Well, those facts are not only true in humans, but they're also true in animals, because basically the same functions, the same oxidative stress and its impact on aging and its impact on many of the disease processes in animals is exactly the same as it is in humans. Oxidative stress is a major component of these conditions, as well as aging in the animals. I know in dogs we see, one of the things I've noticed, and I've heard this from a lot of people that I've talked to about, particularly with canine health, but also with Protandim, that in animals, and particularly like in dogs, one of the great things about it is you see the benefits quicker generally than you do in humans. You notice, and I've seen people have told me about it, and I've seen it in my own animals, that such things as what I call doggy dementia, commonly referred to as cognitive dysfunction in dogs. I've seen dogs that with the reduction in oxidative stress and inflammation that's provided by technology, their cognitive dysfunction or dementia improves and gets better. We've seen, arthritic conditions in animals, particularly dogs, and their mobility improve dramatically. So, I mean, these are quality of life things in animals and dogs as much as they are in humans. So by reducing oxidative stress and the benefits that it gets to these animals is as you would see in humans. Now, as you guys all know, we can't make any claims about the treatment, prevention, diagnosis of any disease or condition from our products, our LifeVantage products, but we do know that we can say that it reduces oxidative stress. And we do know from the literature that oxidative stress is as important in animals as it is in humans. Let me just mention a couple things to you. If you go on PubMed, PubMed.gov, the National Institute of Health Library website for peer-reviewed literature, today, if you go and look up oxidative stress, you're going to see somewhere in excess of 160,000 papers on oxidative stress, which, by the way, when I went on it 3.5, 4 years ago, after Jennifer Bishop had introduced us, there were 90,000 papers. So if you can imagine, in 3 to 4 years, an additional 70,000 scientific papers and studies that have been produced, it just boggles my mind. This is obviously.
I did it 5 years ago, Lee.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just absolutely amazing the amount of interest in the medical community, and of course, PubMed, while it is primarily aimed at humans, it also has papers that relate to animals, generally because the studies relate to human medicine. But even so, if you look at oxidative stress in dogs on PubMed, you'll find about 600 studies. And if you look at oxidative stress in horses, you'll find about 250 studies. This is all on PubMed, the Human Library, National Institute of Health Library website. If you look at, there's another search engine on PubMed, and Michael's probably already educated his team, but if not, if you go up in the upper bar on PubMed.gov, there's a little window, and it'll say PubMed, but it's got a drop-down box on it. And if you drop that down and scroll down to what's called PMC, it gives you a different search. And if you do that and you look at on PMC and dogs, you'll find close to 8,000 studies. Again, National Institute of Health Library, 8,000 studies in dogs, and about well over 1,000 studies in horses. And if you look at Google Scholar, not Google, Google Scholar is a technical site, technical search that includes scientific literature. Google is a search for crap. So use Google Scholar, not Google. But if you go on Google Scholar and you look at oxidative stress in dogs, this is going to blow your mind. You get over 100,000 hits. There's over 100,000 papers. Now, these are not all scientific papers. Some of them are scientific opinion pieces. Some of them are technology pieces, etc., such as patents. But the majority of it is scientific papers. So over 100,000 papers on oxidative stress in dogs, and over right at 30,000 papers on oxidative stress in horses. And you can do the same thing, particularly in Google Scholar. You can search oxidative stress, dogs, arthritis, and you'll get papers that are published in that area. So the reason I focus on that is because I want you to understand how important oxidative stress is in animals as well as humans. So, you know, people don't think of it. There's a number of papers that have been published over the years that are specific to oxidative stress in the animals, and so it's not just a hot button in human medicine; it's a hot button in animals.
Wow.
And now, as you guys probably know, because you have a lot of really amazing people in your team and in your area that are associated with horses, and Protandim use in horses is widespread with remarkable benefits. Horses are I call them inflammatory machines because they are really any injury. Inflammation is a huge factor in any injury in horses, and of course inflammation is part of the benefit, reduction in inflammation, part of the benefit from our technology, and it relates also to oxidative stress. So
Awesome.
so some of the things people are seeing in horses is pretty amazing.
Well, that's a pretty awesome thing, Lee, because, you know, besides, you know, I mean, think about it. It makes sense. Dogs and horses age 7 times faster than humans. So it makes sense that what you said earlier about how you see quicker results in animals, like, and I'm just going to throw this in here. My wife and I were just talking about it. You know, my wife went back and had some blood work done just this last week, and it just blows my mind away, the changes in her blood work just in a year, right, honey? In 1 year, 2 years, drastically, with no change in diet, Lee. Actually, our diet's not been that good recently, so we were blown away about the results in her blood work. Just, I mean, everything was perfect, like someone, you know, 15, 20 years younger than her. And so thank you so much for, I'm like, I know we have a short period of time that we're on here together, but I could listen to you all the time, and I'm going to have you back on again. And, you know, just thank you for your heart for people. You know, God has blessed us with this amazing opportunity. And I know that you and Becky are in LifeVantage for life. And I don't think that this information that we're able to share with one another, we can keep it to ourselves. So thank you for doing the research that you've done. Thank you for your wisdom. God has blessed you, my friend, with a lot of wisdom. And I'm honored to call you and Becky friends. And thank you so much for just jumping on tonight and sharing your heart. And do me a favor, give Becky a big hug for me, and tell her I love her. I love you guys, and we'll talk soon. So thank you again for being on.
Well, thank you, Michael, and it's great to share with everybody on your team, and I just hope they understand just how blessed they are to have you. And I just want to say again, you all have an opportunity to, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work with something that's going to change the way worldwide people think about their health and well-being. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Great way to end that quote. I agree with you 100%. And guys, I know we only have about a couple minutes.
Lost you.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Mike, we can't hear you.
We lost you.
Oh, guys, I don't know what happened. I don't know how that happened, but thank you for telling me that. Somehow I got muted. So 5 levels of leadership. I just want to go over this real quick. I know we only got a couple minutes, but I'm going to go over this a little bit more in the coming weeks because I'm going to be reading out of this book. But there's 5 levels of leadership: position, permission, production, people development, and personhood. Position, follow people because they have to. I've been this person before, and this person is not good, okay? People don't want another boss, okay? Especially in business. 2 is permission. People follow because they want to follow you. They believe in you. They trust you, like Urban Meyer said. They don't have to, but they want to follow you. 3 is production. So think about this in your mind, okay? Level of results. People follow because of what you have done in business, or especially in this business. Accomplishments. People, and then people development, level of production. People follow because of what you've done for them. You guys have heard me. I've been preaching this the last couple weeks about investing in people, okay? Investing in people. Personhood, okay? Level of respect. People follow because of who you are and what you represent, your values, okay? I made that my goal for 2016 and on into 2017 is to invest in people. Invest in people. Be different, okay? Be different than I've been in the past. Create an atmosphere of leadership. And you guys saw me, I read this earlier. The number 1 job of a leader is to earn their trust and then set a standard and then equip and inspire them to achieve that standard. Guys, thank you for being on tonight. I'm honored. It's now 9:30, and I'm going to end the recording. And guys, if you have questions, just email me, and I'll get. Lee is one thing I like about Lee is that he always answers questions. And so, guys, God bless you all. Thanks for being on tonight. Have a good weekend. Let's if you haven't scheduled a launch call, please schedule a launch call. I've probably done 20 of them in the last 3 days. They're working, guys. If you haven't learned it, learn it and get one scheduled. God bless you all. Have a good night.